Hello there, and welcome back to this quiet corner of the universe where stories are told not in haste, but in the rhythm of drifting stars. Before we begin, allow the weight of the day to slide away. Let the mind rest as the breath slows steady and easy, as though every inhale gathers the hush of night, and every exhale releases the noise that lingers at the edges. Whether you listen in the deep of night or at the edge of morning, let yourself arrive gently here. Imagine a horizon bathed in starlight, where the sky bends wide and patient, the air is cool and still, and the darkness holds a soft shimmer. Around you, faint clouds drift like breath in long arcs, and waves of light ripple across the silence, folding the dust of galaxies into a tapestry that glows without hurry. Tonight, in this calm expanse, we will drift into a thought both simple and vast. What if Earth was as big as the sun? This is not a single instant, but a slow tale stretched across the turning of the stars, unhurried, wide, and calm. A tale woven of three quiet threads: gravity, light, and silence. What if the Earth, small and familiar, began to swell, rising like a tide, until it filled the sky? And what if in that immense size, it no longer remained a world of oceans and forests, but kindled into a star of its own, a second sun beside the first? And while this thought drifts before us, where are you listening from right now? Is your room dim or warm, quiet, or carrying the hush of rain? Under this same sky, far apart, yet close in silence, we share this small moment together. If you enjoy these slow journeys, you are welcome to linger here. There's no rush, no demand, only a seat beside the soft glow, where wonder can settle like dust in still air. So let your thoughts fall into the pace of starlight drifting, and together we will step gently into this story of Earth as vast as the sun, moving through it like a tide that remembers every shore, patient and sure of its way. The hush from the opening thoughts drifts onward, and without pause it leans into the first image, as though one breath has simply become the next. The Earth begins to appear not as a sphere of oceans and land, but as a seed lying quietly in the folds of space, a seed that seems to swell with an unseen rhythm. Its outline feels round and still, yet from within there's a slow pulse, a stretching that carries no sound, only the sense of gathering. It feels as though the seed draws the night around it, gathering threads of gravity like roots, reaching out, pulling inward with patient strength. Around the swelling globe, the sense of mass rises not as a number, but as a weight that thickens the air in silence. As the Earth expands, its pull grows stronger, a quiet hand shaping the space that cradles it. Gravity here does not shout. It settles, it steadies it, enfolds, as though every layer of matter leans into the center, bound by a promise of belonging. The growing planet feels less like a place and more like a presence, vast and certain, breathing with a new rhythm. With each imagined moment, the swelling continues, and the Earth appears no longer small beneath the stars, but vast enough to press against them, its surface stretching like a chest filled with long breath. The scale seems to rise beyond measure, as though the seed has become a trunk that knows no horizon, a form expanding until it brushes the silent boundaries of the sky. Around it, the quiet cosmos bends gently, as though bowing to its size. In this vision, the Earth feels no longer confined to blue seas and green continents, It feels as though the very oceans dissolve into a single sheen, flowing together like a mirror curved across infinity. The continents soften their edges, blurred in the glow of scale, and the whole planet feels like a swelling sphere of silence. It seems less like a home and more like a dream of size itself, a seed becoming a tree, so immense it shades the fabric of space. The thought rests here on the image of that tree, not of wood or leaf, but of mass and light, a structure that feels rooted in gravity and branching in silence. Its canopy stretches until it touches the distant stars, its trunk anchored in the invisible soil of space, its shadow cast across the horizon of time. It does not hurry, it does not struggle. It simply grows as though the cosmos breathes it, larger one patient exhale at a time. And so the earth, once small beneath the vastness, appears now as though it has become vast itself, swelling into the shape of a star yet to ignite. It lingers at the edge between planet and sun like a seed that has reached its fullness and waits suspended in silence for the gentle unfolding of light. The image drifts there soft and slow, as though resting before the next breath, as though dusk were folding over the swelling seed, drifts onward, and in its quiet, the gaze lowers to the waters, once circling in calm embrace. In the hush of gravity's pull, the seas stretch outward, no longer held by familiar shores, but spread like silver sheets across a curving floor. It feels as though the tides lean together, gathering into a single body that bends under the weight of gravity's hand. The ocean appears to press downward, pressed not with a force, but with an unspoken stillness, each drop folding into the whole. The blue surface grows smoother, calmer, as though surrendering to the scale of its vessel. The thought of gravity lingers here, not as a number, but as a quiet weight felt through the water itself. The planet's mass seems to press the oceans closer, drawing every ripple down until the waves appear, like shallow breaths against a chest too broad to notice them. Liquids that once moved in restless rhythm now fall into harmony, held gently yet firmly, each motion contained by the invisible curve of attraction. The sea becomes heavier yet quieter, and the soundless hush settles upon its skin. With time, imagine the waters lose their edges. The line where continent meets tide softens, melting away until the land itself seems to sink beneath the mirrored surface. What remains feels like a single, endless ocean, a horizon without interruption, shining faintly under the stars. No boundary can be found, only the impression of continuity, as though water itself has claimed the world. In a slow and tender expansion, the ocean feels infinite, yet it drifts into stillness. Far above the boundless sea, the surface appears as a mirror, tilted gently toward the sky. In its depths, galaxies seem to ripple, their dust and light traced upon the watery glass. Stars appear to swim across the reflection, bending softly with every imagined current. The whole cosmos seems doubled, one above and one below each, leaning into the other with patient symmetry. The ocean feels less like water now, and more like a canvas stretched to receive the night. There is no storm in this vision, no rush, only the slow turning of a sphere wrapped in its own reflection. The sea, once restless, becomes the quietest witness of growth, spreading and deepening under the pull of scale. It feels as though the earth has dressed itself in a robe of silver, calm, flowing, and unbroken, carrying the shimmer of every distant light. And in this robe, the planet seems to breathe more slowly, its surface settling into the rhythm of the stars. The thought fades with the stillness of that mirrored sea, a surface that holds the universe in its quiet embrace. It drifts onward like a tide that has reached its furthest shore, lingering before it turns again. From the mirrored seas, the gaze drifts upward, and the surface that once reflected the stars begins to blur as though a veil rises gently above the waters. The air itself seems to swell, lifted by the pull of a body that has grown vast, its weight shaping not only oceans and stone, but also the invisible layers that float above. The atmosphere appears to unfold in widening circles, pressed outward by gravity thickening with each breath of expansion. It feels as though the sky has become a slow tide of unseen substance, heavier, denser, more embracing. The silence within it carries the sense of being held in a vast and tender grasp. The thought of air becomes more than mere gas. It becomes a fabric stretched across the world, a fabric that presses and protects at once. The increased mass seems to draw it closer, pushing its layers into depth, building pressure until the very sky feels weighted like a blanket pulled low. Yet within that weight lies comfort, as though the atmosphere leans gently, covering the Earth's sun. With patience, it drifts as though wrapping the world in a hushed embrace. From far above, this expanded cloak of air would seem immense, swelling outward into space, like a pale, translucent ocean surrounding the swollen globe. Its reach feels without end, each particle held firm by the invisible threads of gravity. Within it, the air thickens, pressing softly upon the ground, smoothing away the restless edges of wind. The motion slows, the breath deepens, and the planet appears to settle beneath its new cover. The image softens further, and the atmosphere now seems less like gas and more like a quilt of silence, layered and deep. It folds over itself in countless sheets, each heavier than the last, until the earth appears to slumber beneath it. The sense of shelter grows, though it carries weight, a weight that feels both protective and unyielding, as though the sky itself has turned into a vast cocoon. In this cocoon, the world drifts hushed and hidden. All around, the blanket of air feels to press inward and outward, at once held steady by the balance of scale. The earth breathes within it, though the breath is slow and heavy, stretching into rhythms that echo the widened sighs. The atmosphere seems endless, yet close distant, yet enclosing a paradox of vastness and intimacy that lulls the thought into stillness. It appears as if the world now sleeps under its own creation, wrapped in a comfort that both shelters and weighs. And in that vision, the planet glimmers beneath its veil, as though the very act of being covered has brought a quiet glow, a softening of edges, a sense of pause. The air above thickens into silence, pressing gently upon the story before it drifts away into the next breath. The heavy folds of atmosphere seem to press downward, and in that pressure a sense arises as if the silence itself prepares the heart of the world to stir. At the center, where pressure grows without pause, the matter feels as if it begins to glow, pressed so tightly that it can no longer remain silent. The core, once quiet, appears to awaken in warmth, and within that warmth, faint reactions gather, soft as sparks hidden beneath the folds of night. It seems as though the earth, swollen to stellar size, has reached a threshold where stillness bends into light. What was once a planet begins to feel like the bud of a star waiting to open. The science suggests that when such mass builds the heart of the body, becomes hot enough to stir nuclear fusion, hydrogen drifting into helium, each meeting releasing waves of brightness. Yet the image of this is not of fire or violence, but of a lamp being lit slowly, patiently, until its glow spreads into the surrounding dark. The earth, once stone and sea, transforms into a luminous orb, a sphere no longer confined by planetary silence, but lifted into the song of stars. It breathes with a different rhythm, now one of radiance and release. Within this vision, the planet sheds oceans and forests, floating instead as a lantern in the cosmic night. Its light feels cool, with a tint of blue-green, as though oceans have dissolved into its shine, turning the star into a great water lamp. The vastness of space accepts it, cradles it, and lets it shimmer among countless others, a new note added to the quiet chorus of suns. The glow does not dazzle, it simply settles across the sky, like a new thread woven into the fabric. Around this transformed earth, the quiet continues, though shaped differently. Shadows stretch softer under the star's pale shine, and nearby dust drifts through beams of radiance, catching faint glimmers like fine particles in water. The new star seems less like a source of heat and more like a candle left afloat on an endless sea. Its expansion feels unhurried, its brightness gentle, carrying a sense of stillness even in the act of burning. Within it, time seems slower, each moment suspended in a pool of light. Through the stillness, the image of transformation lingers where a once solid sphere becomes something both strange and tender. The atmosphere that once pressed heavy has thinned into waves of radiance drifting outward in calm layers. The oceans that stretched wide appear no longer as liquid, but as a tone of color held within the glow, a memory turned into hue. The ground beneath the continents and valleys dissolve into brightness, merging into the quiet pulse of the star itself. Now, it feels as though the earth has become a lamp hung above the cradle of space green and blue, melting into silver light, shining not fiercely, but with a calm persistence. It is not the roar of a flame, but the steady breathing of a lantern that seems to float in the dark. And as the mind rests upon this vision, the edges of form fade once more until only the glow remains unhurried, suspended, and quiet. And so, the earth drifts as a new star, luminous, yet hushed, a gentle presence in the vast dark, its radiance spreading like a lullaby across the silence of space. The glow that unfolded before now leans further, as though the first stirrings of light call for a deeper rhythm beneath. In the hush of that vast body, swollen into the measure of a star, a rhythm unfolds, as though unseen tides drift outward and return, each movement spreading softly across the dark. Expansion appears patient, not hurried, more like the folding of dusk than the rush of flame. Deep within, the quiet pulse of fusion feels like the slow turning of hidden wheels, steady and continuous. Around it, the cosmos seems to pause, as if listening to the faint glow of a lantern awakening. And within that glow, the sense of a beginning quietly lingers. Science describes the pressure and heat gathering, forcing the gases to drift into reactions that give birth to light, a process not sudden, but continuous, like the weaving of air into fire without flame. Hydrogen folds into helium, and from that folding streams of brightness, flow outward as though exhaled. The immense size shapes this breath into a balance too large to be hurried, too vast to be contained, steady as a slow heartbeat through space. What once seemed stone and sea now feels transformed into a breathing star. The vision softens into a chest of the universe, lifting and sinking with unending patience. The Earth, no longer a planet of ground and water, appears as a great lung opening into radiance, its surface rising like the swell of sleep, its release glowing like a sigh carried through stillness. Light does not rush outward. It drifts circling in layers, each one fainter and further, until the edges dissolve into night. The breathing continues wide and luminous. Around this new form, the silence changes, no longer dark, but veiled with a pale shimmer. Shadows stretch thinner under the calm radiance, and nearby particles drift as though caught in the long exhale of the star. There is no boundary where the light ends. Instead, it seems to blur into the folds of the cosmos, as if the breath of the earth has become part of the breath of space itself. It feels less like fire, more like the whisper of a tide that cannot be measured. Around this rhythm, science and image merge the mechanics of fusion, blending into the music of respiration. Each particle that meets and transforms seems like a tiny note in a lullaby sung not in sound, but in radiance. The breathing star floats in stillness, each expansion carrying warmth, each contraction carrying quiet, together weaving a lull that holds the whole sky. The transformation appears less an event than a state of being, as though the earth had become a breath that will not end. And so, the lull rests in itself, the sense of a vast chest rising, glowing, settling back, glowing again, a cycle with no beginning or end. It seems the earth has swelled into the size of the sun, and within that embrace it shines, not fiercely, but tenderly. A single line drifts across the silence. The earth has grown to match the sun, and within those arms it glows. The glow that drifted outward in quiet rhythm settles into weight, and that weight leans deeper, gathering the sense of a pull that feels stronger with every imagined breath. The vast body, swollen to the size of a star, carries within it a presence that draws all things closer, not with haste, but with a patience that surrounds. Around its center, matter folds inward each layer, leaning softly toward the heart, as though bound by threads, too fine to see, yet too steady to escape. This quiet binding is gravity felt not as a number or a measure, but as an embrace that shapes the air, the oceans, the dust, and even the light itself. It feels like a rhythm of belonging, a center that asks all things to remain near. Through this vision, the pull seems thicker, as if space itself leans inward, curving gently toward the mass that has grown. The ground beneath feels pressed into stillness. The seas seem lowered into their own reflections, and the sky stretches downward, heavier, closer, folding itself upon the globe. Light, too, bends its path, softened and curved, as though reluctant to leave the embrace. It does not rush away. It drifts as if pausing, circling, returning again. The image unfolds like a great pair of arms surrounding the whole of creation near it. Within such arms, every particle finds itself drawn close, every fragment of matter held steady, every flicker of dust slowed by the deep patience of scale. The vastness does not scatter. It gathers, It feels as though even time bends slightly inward, softened around the edges, slowed by the magnitude of the pull. A hush arises, here not of silence alone, but of weight pressing gently against thought itself. In simple science, such an increase of mass brings gravity so strong that escape becomes almost impossible. The greater the size, the more insistent the pull, until even the swiftest paths of light seem curved, drifting back as though tethered. Yet in this telling, the pull carries no harshness, only the sense of a steady hand resting upon the universe, holding it near. It is less a trap than a lull, less a command than a quiet persuasion, the way dusk persuades day into night. Within this gravity, the world feels gathered like leaves, drawn into the fold of a single tide, circling without end. Oceans press inward, the air thickens downward, the mountains sink imperceptibly into the weight, yet all of it happens in stillness, without struggle, without sound. It seems as though the earth sun breathes inward instead of outward, a long inhalation that never quite releases, holding within it the memory of every motion it has drawn close. From a distance, such pull appears as a soft sphere of influence stretching far beyond the physical surface, a halo not of light but of attraction. Planets nearby, stones adrift, even rays of brightness seem to lean toward it, circling in patterns of patient obedience. The effect feels less like domination and more like a tide across the fabric of space, rolling steadily toward the center. It is a tide that does not end, a tide of belonging. Beyond this hush, the vision lingers, a world swollen to stellar measure, wrapped not only in brightness, but in unseen threads of gravity that deepen around it. The pull feels like the tightening of an embrace, not harsh, but unyielding, holding every fragment close to the heart of the mass. Within it, light curls air, presses seas sink, and even silence feels heavier. And in that heaviness there is rest. The weight does not end the vision, but steadies it, leaving behind the sense of a globe whose arms extend far beyond itself, holding the cosmos near, and within that hold all drifts more slowly, more quietly, as though settling into the rhythm of a deeper breath. The weight that gathered all things closer now drifts further, and within that deepening embrace, a question lingers about what remains of the fragile patterns once resting on the surface. The vision lowers gently toward what had been familiar ground, where oceans once moved in tides, where air carried the warmth of seasons, where soil held roots in patient silence. Yet under the new star's glow, these forms seem to fade, their outlines softening their rhythms, dissolving into the larger breath of radiance. The surface feels altered, as though the old world has been folded into a brighter, more unyielding fabric. Life that once clung to it appears faint, like a memory beginning to lift. Through the quiet lens of science, such transformation unfolds with clarity. When mass swells to stellar size, the heat at the core rises until it drifts outward as waves of radiation, warming not with gentleness but with intensity that carries no pause. The air no longer cools, it thickens with light. The seas no longer flow, they turn to vapor carried upward until no boundary remains. Mountains soften in their silence, their stone dissolving under heat that feels ceaseless. What once sheltered life appears consumed by the very glow that now defines the earth sun. The presence of life feels like a dream receding at dawn, gentle but inevitable. Each form seems to fold into air, each voice of movement melting into quiet, until the vast sphere carries no trace of growth or breath. It is not an ending with sharpness, but a fading, as though morning light has passed through mist and left behind stillness. The world that once hummed with motion now rests in an emptiness that feels calm, though absolute, in its silence. In this image, the forests appear like shadows that cannot hold their shape, dissolving into warmth that erases detail. Rivers that once traced the land seem to fade into vapor, their winding courses lingering only as lines of memory. Creatures of air and sea, of soil and leaf, seem to drift away like patterns in sand smoothed by the tide. Each disappears without struggle, simply yielding to the larger scale absorbed by the quiet radiance that now surrounds the sphere. The thought of this vanishing carries no violence, only the gentleness of impermanence. Life does not fall away in suddenness. It dissolves, spreading thin, until it can no longer be distinguished from the glow. The planet feels as though it has shed a delicate layer, the way mist leaves the fields when the sun climbs high, leaving only the plain silence of stone beneath. It is the silence of completion of one rhythm giving way to another. Around the glowing sphere, this absence becomes palpable, not as loss, but as a deep stillness. The surface shines smooth, holding no forests, no waves, no voices of air, only the uniform tone of radiance stretching outward. The light seems to sing alone, now carrying its song into the wide dark. It feels as though the Earth Sun has become both presence and absence presence in its glow absence, in its loss of the fragile patterns that once defined it. The image rests here, upon a globe that has drifted beyond life into another state of being. It no longer holds the textures of water and leaf. It holds instead the smoothness of light. The hush of extinction does not echo. It only settles like dust sinking slowly through air. What remains is a surface without detail, a dream erased by dawn, a canvas emptied for the cosmos to reflect upon. As though time itself leaned forward, the thought settles in calm stillness. Life dissolves into the breath of a star, like a fragile mist lifted by morning light, leaving only silence across the glow. The earth has grown into the measure of the sun, and in that growth, the traces of life have drifted into quiet, like a dream that fades even as it is remembered. The hush of dissolved life lingers like a veil, and through that veil, another vision rises, drifting toward the pale companion that once circled in faithful rhythm. The moon seems to hover at a distance, as though waiting its orbit drawn in lines that have lasted for ages, soft as a thread pulled again and again across the same seam. Yet with the earth grown vast with gravity, thickened into a stronger tide, that orbit feels fragile, stretched thin under the weight of new balance. The path no longer closes neatly around the planet. It curves inward, leaning toward the embrace of the greater mass. The satellite appears less like a distant partner and more like a dancer being pulled closer to the center of the floor. Through the quiet frame of science, it appears that when the Earth swells into stellar size, gravity extends with such weight that the moon cannot keep its gentle circle. The familiar orbit, once steady, bends inward, the smaller body caught in the growing pull. No matter how it drifts, the attraction draws it closer, each moment folding the distance thinner. The moon, once held at arm's length, now appears to be invited into the very body it has circled, falling softly toward its companion. The image carries no collision, only absorption. The moon seems to dissolve into the earth sun, the way a note fades into the chord that follows it, still present, yet blended, still distinct, yet hidden. Its pale light, once reflecting the glow of another, becomes absorbed into the larger radiance, as though its silver breath has been drawn into the chest of its partner. The two bodies feel less like separate forms and more like one presence, single glow carried forward in silence. It appears as a dance slowed into stillness. The smaller partner circles with delicate steps, drawn gradually closer by the steady arms of the larger. The orbit narrows, the turn grows tighter until the embrace closes, and the two no longer move apart. The moon seems to melt into the body of the earth sun, a dancer folded into the embrace of a partner who has become too vast to let go. The floor of space absorbs the last trace of its motion, leaving only the echo of a waltz remembered. The thought lingers on what the night once held, where once a silver circle moved across the dark, marking tides, guiding shadows, stirring the breath of waters. There now rests only the continuous glow of a single star. The moon's absence feels less like loss and more like completion, as though it has simply returned home after a long circling journey. The sky feels smoother, less divided, carrying one steady brightness rather than two. From a distance, this union feels inevitable, like rivers flowing into a sea, like sparks folding into flame. The moon was never apart entirely. It was always tied, always leaning toward its companion. And now, that leaning has carried it to the center. It drifts no longer around, but within, and in this within it disappears. The dance concludes, not with a final step, but with stillness, the two partners resting in a single pose. From afar, the vision softens into this image, the moon long a companion, drawn gently inward, its orbit erased, its glow absorbed. The pale dancer has folded into the greater presence, not with resistance, but with surrender, as natural as mist falling back into the sea. What remains is the earth sun alone, luminous and whole, carrying within it the memory of the smaller light it once held at a distance. The silence settles again, wrapping this union in calmness, and the thought drifts forward, as though waiting for the next turn in the quiet rhythm of change. The quiet union of earth and moon rests in stillness, and from that stillness, the gaze drifts outward toward the larger family of worlds that circle in their slow and patient paths. Around the sun, these companions once moved in harmony, each orbit steady, each distance, familiar, a dance of balance held across time. Yet with a second star rising from the earth itself, the threads of that balance begin to loosen, their weave disturbed by another center of gravity. The pattern of circles bends and sways, no longer perfectly aligned, as though the floor beneath the dance has shifted slightly. It feels as if the planets have begun to search for new places, caught between two lights. Science offers its gentle frame, the appearance of another mass, as large as the sun, alters the gravitational field, creating a system that no longer carries a single center. With two stars in place, the motions of the planets become less certain, their orbits pulled into new shapes, some elongated, some compressed. A few appear to drift outward, seeking greater distance, while others lean inward, caught by the doubled pull. The solar system seems to tremble, reshaping itself into unfamiliar patterns. The image of this tremble carries no noise, only the quiet shifting of orbits, like lines in sand, redrawn by a tide. Mars, once steady in its slow loop, feels its path lengthen, drifting farther from the warmth. Venus, close and bright, seems pressed more tightly into a narrowing curve. Even the giant planets, Saturn and Jupiter, appear unsettled, their great arcs bending under the new balance. Each path becomes tentative, each turn slightly altered, as though the music of their motion has changed its key. The scene appears like dust drifting around two lanterns burning in the dark. Each grain hovers uncertainly between one glow and the other, sometimes circling closer to one, sometimes pulled away toward the other. The grains do not know where to settle. They drift in currents that change with each flicker of light. The lanterns shine together, but their combined pull creates a restlessness, a slow wandering of all that surrounds them. From far away, this restlessness might seem beautiful rather than broken, the system appearing like a slow braid of paths twisting through space. The orbits no longer hold perfect circles, but their curves weave around both stars, creating shapes that feel like loops of ribbon drifting in air. The fabric of the solar system changes, but it does not fall apart. It reshapes itself into new designs, softer, less predictable, yet still flowing. The vision carries a sense of slow adaptation, a patience that accepts the change. Closer, the effects appear more intimate. The length of days alters the tilt of light shifts, and the warmth on each planet drifts into patterns no longer known. The balance of seasons, once a steady rhythm, becomes uneven, some longer, some shorter, like breaths taken at different paces. Yet even in this unsteadiness, there is no violence, only the sense of a lullaby changing its tempo, a song rewritten, but still sung in the same soft tone. The thought rests on this new image, planets wandering their paths, uncertain, yet still held by the embrace of two suns. None escape entirely, none collapse at once. Instead, each drifts in search of a quieter orbit, a new rhythm where gravity's pull might again feel even. The solar system does not lose itself. It simply learns another way to move. Beyond the shifting hush, the vision fades into this balance, in transition, a family of planets, no longer where they once were, yet still circling, still breathing, as though two lights had invited them into a slower tune. In the hush of that tune, the solar system drifts, patient, unsettled, yet unbroken. The wandering paths of planets stretch outward like ribbons loosened from their weave, and in the gentle pause that follows, another image begins to form, as though the fabric of the system prepares itself for calm again. The shifting of orbits feels unsettled at first, yet even in that restlessness, there is the suggestion of an underlying order waiting to return. Each planet, though adrift, still belongs to the circle of gravity, still tied to the pull of stars that guide them. The dance does not break apart. It only changes its measure, like a melody that falters before finding its rhythm again. What seemed lost in the tremble begins to lean toward, balance the way a tide eventually settles into its ebb. Science offers a quiet note here. In systems of two stars, there often comes a new stability orbits, finding shapes that may be less perfect, yet still enduring. The pull of both bodies, though complex, can form patterns that remain for vast stretches of time loops that weave themselves around two centers instead of one. The solar family appears unsettled now, yet within that restlessness lies the seed of another harmony, another structure still hidden, but possible. It seems as though the cosmos bends toward equilibrium even when momentarily disturbed. The image of this settling appears like a long piece of music shifting tempo. For a time, the notes seem scattered, their timing uncertain, the rhythm altered from what was known. Yet gradually, without force, the notes align again, carrying a new measure, slower, more patient. The music does not end. It transforms, and in that transformation, it carries the same quiet assurance. The planets, like instruments, adapt their motion to the new song circling with hesitance that becomes steadiness. The thought lingers on the sense of silence beneath the movement. Even as orbits sway, there is no loudness, no break, only the soft turning of worlds in the gravity of two suns. It feels as though silence itself has grown deeper, expanded to hold both the restlessness and the calm. The system breathes with longer intervals. Now, its exhale stretched, its inhale slowed, yet the breath continues unbroken. Within that continuation lies peace. Around the Earth-Sun and its companion, the orbits begin to trace smoother paths again. The farthest planets drift outward, but remain tethered. The nearer ones lean inward, but remain circling. What once seemed chaotic becomes a slow spiral, a design not immediately clear, yet undeniably graceful. The quiet strength of gravity weaves them into place, as if invisible hands smooth the folds of a cloth until it lies flat again. The stillness of order returns not as it once was, but as something new. The system resembles a vast dance hall. After a moment of hesitation, the dancers once caught off step now rediscover the rhythm, each adjusting to the new pace. Some steps are longer, some shorter, but all move again to the same music, and the hall fills with motion that appears harmonious once more. The memory of confusion fades, replaced by the soft assurance of movement that continues without urgency. The dance is quieter now, slower, but no less beautiful. As if the cosmos itself paused, the vision rests upon this new silence, a universe that after its trembling leans once more toward the cadence of balance. The orbits may not mirror their former perfection, yet they flow, they endure, they settle. The music has changed, but the song continues, written in the language of gravity and time. It feels as though the cosmos has exhaled after a long pause, returning to its patient rhythm. The thought drifts here, closing upon the sense of a system that has weathered change and now leans back into calm. Like a melody slowed to its gentlest pace, the solar family settles into silence, carrying the weight of its journey, yet breathing again in the lull of balance. A hush drifts through the aftermath of shifting orbits, and within that pause a new glow begins to form. The earth, once wrapped in oceans and stone, now reshapes itself into a body of light, its surface no longer solid, but flowing with plasma that breathes like liquid fire. The radiance does not flare with violence. It spreads with calm, filling the dark with a soft blue haze. It feels as though the planet has slipped quietly into another role, trading the weight of soil for the shimmer of a star. At the heart of this transformation, fusion awakens not as an eruption, but as a steady hum that carries outward. Tiny particles pressed close in the silence of unimaginable heat merge and release their energy, and that energy drifts into space as a rhythm of light. Science names this process nuclear fusion, yet here it feels less like a reaction and more like a patient song, a tone struck deep within matter and carried outward in endless refrain. The star does not consume. It seems to breathe each exhalation, a wave of radiance that folds across the night. Around this body, space feels reshaped. Shadows lean back as the glow expands, wrapping every grain of dust in a soft sheen as though the darkness itself has learned to shimmer. The air that once lingered around the earth no longer belongs to it, dissolving into the luminous tide, leaving behind only the smooth flow of energy. The sphere glows steady, neither flickering nor faltering, holding itself like a lantern suspended in infinite dusk. It appears gentle, though immense, as if its presence alone could slow the pace of time. The image resembles a candle burning at the center of a silent hall, not rushed in its flame, but constant in its offering. Around such a flame, nothing presses, nothing hurries. The stillness itself leans toward it, carried by the quiet assurance that the light will remain. The earth, now clothed in plasma, resembles this candle, but one raised to cosmic scale, set not on a table, but against the endless expanse. Its flame does not sway with breeze, for no breeze crosses the void. It simply holds, balanced, unwavering. From afar, the glow feels serene, a pale sapphire pulse within the broader dark. Its brightness spreads in slow layers, not striking the eye, but caressing it, the way twilight softens edges, rather than sharpening them. Around it, silence deepens, as though the star draws not only matter, but stillness toward its core. In that stillness, the blue flame seems both fragile and eternal, like a song hummed so quietly that it lasts far longer than a cry ever could. Through the language of science, it appears inevitable. Hydrogen fuses into helium, releasing light, sustaining the flame for ages beyond counting. Yet in this telling, inevitability does not carry weight. It carries the rest of knowing that the process will continue without strain. The star does not push, it glows. The fusion feels less like work and more like breathing, a breath so vast it stretches across millennia. Each cycle of energy slips outward as though it were part of the cosmos' own quiet pulse. Soft shapes gather here. The blue star resembles a hearth placed within the great chamber of night, a fire not meant for heat, but for presence. Around such a hearth, all else seems smaller, quieter, as though warmed not by flames, but by assurance. The earth has become this hearth, no longer a planet of weather and tide, but a flame resting at the center of a darker room. Its light touches gently, yet it fills every corner. The vision rests at last on this image, a sphere glowing with calm certainty, its radiance unfolding in long waves, its body sustained by the slow and patient work of fusion within. The glow appears both intimate and infinite, like a single candle mirrored endlessly in polished glass. Nothing rushes from it, nothing interrupts it. Only the steady release of light continues, as though time itself has chosen to slow around its flame. And within that flame, there is peace. From the gentle flame that steadied itself in silence, a wider glow begins to unfurl, not leaping outward, but spreading as though the airless void has softened into water. The radiance does not remain bound to the surface of the new star. It drifts outward in calm waves, curving evenly in every direction, filling space with a pale and patient hue. Each wave feels unhurried, as if the universe itself were breathing slowly, exhaling light into the dark. It carries not urgency, but assurance, a tide that leans outward without end. And in that leaning, the dark itself seems to grow luminous. Through the lens of science, this unfolding appears as radiation moving in straight lines, released by fusion at the core and spilling outward through layers of plasma. Yet the language of lines feels too narrow, for the glow does not appear strict. It feels like water poured into an endless basin, touching everything at once. The photons drift far beyond sight, filling distances measured not in steps but in billions of kilometers, and even so, they do not fade at once. Each step outward is another ripple, another extension of the tide. The star seems less like a point and more like an ocean that knows no shore. From nearby, the blue radiance settles over dust stone and shadow smoothing edges until all forms appear softened. Even the emptiness seems to shimmer, carrying faint reflections, as though space had learned to glisten like a calm sea beneath moonlight. The waves of light do not strike. They flow as though every pulse of energy had been transformed into a lullaby. Around such presence, the quiet deepens, for silence itself appears brighter, filled with the gentle persistence of glow. In that persistence, there is rest. Further outward, the expansion takes on the image of ripples upon a still lake. Each ring widens, each circle drifts beyond the last, none colliding, none breaking, only layering themselves into a pattern too vast to measure. No boundary interrupts these circles, no wall contains them. They move until they become indistinguishable from the space they inhabit. The universe accepts them as water accepts rain, folding every drop into the same surface. It feels as though the blue light has become a sea that cannot end. The thought lingers on the delicacy of this motion. A single photon light's smallest unit drifts outward without weight, yet when gathered by the countless trillions, they appear as waves that carry both presence and calm. These waves have no crest, no fall, only a steady flowing outward, as though time itself had slowed to allow their unfolding. The radiance does not announce itself with brilliance. It hums quietly, a background song woven into the fabric of space. And in that song, there is continuity without haste. From another view, the glow appears like mist, lifting across a valley, revealing the land by softening it rather than sharpening it. In this case, the valley is the void, and the mist is light spreading in sheets that grow thinner with distance, yet never entirely vanish. The sheets seem to wrap planets, comets, and drifting grains of dust, folding them into the same veil of blue. Each object reflects faintly, not like a mirror, but like a leaf resting beneath water, visible and yet altered by the medium that covers it. Everything appears touched, yet nothing appears disturbed. The scene holds the quiet beauty of lanterns floating upon a still river. Each lantern drifts outward, farther and farther, yet none leaves the water that carries it. The river becomes vast enough to seem endless, and the lanterns dissolve into its distance, no longer counted, only felt. The earth-turned star resembles this river, its photons like lanterns, carrying blue fire that spreads until even the idea of separation fades. In the end, what remains is not many lanterns, but one river of light. The vision rests gently here, a sea of illumination formed not by rushing currents, but by the soft persistence of fusion's breath. The light spreads in all directions, even where no eyes may find it, even where no matter may reflect it, and still it continues. The cosmos feels quieter in its presence, as though wrapped in a tide, too gentle to resist, too steady to seize. And within that tide, the blue star appears less like a body and more like a horizon that has expanded to touch all things. The sea does not end. It drifts on, covering the night in a radiance as patient as breathing, leaving behind the sense of a lake without borders where waves move outward, forever soft and unbroken. Beyond the calm expanse of blue radiance, other worlds appear in their long paths, as though they have paused to watch the Earth-sun settle into its glow. Their orbits, once familiar in their steady arcs, now seem stretched, curved, and hesitant, pulled between two centers of light. The sun, eternal in its presence, still leans upon them, yet the new star joins as another source of attraction, altering the balance with patient insistence. Each planet turns, yet the turn feels uncertain, like a dancer caught between two guiding hands. The floor of space no longer carries only one rhythm. It now carries two. In the language of science, the presence of two stellar bodies bends the gravitational field into patterns far more complex than a single circle. Some paths stretch into elongated loops, some tighten into narrower arcs, while others drift wider, searching for distance. The balance once held by one center seems to have been shared, each planet pulled slightly, one way than the other. The result is neither collapse nor escape, but a slow wavering, a hesitation that extends across time. The system itself appears to lean, as though deciding how to rest again. Around the doubled light days and nights no longer hold the same measure. The span of shadow grows longer on one planet, shorter on another, with no clear rhythm linking them all. A dawn may arrive swiftly, or it may linger beyond its former bounds, as though stretched by unseen hands. Dusk, too, may retreat or extend its line, blurred by the presence of two suns. Seasons lose their former certainty, lengthening in strange intervals, shortening without warning, as though the calendar of the heavens has been rewritten in softer ink. Time itself feels slower in some moments, quicker in others, without a single pace to bind it. The image settles gently into stillness. Around two lanterns in the night, children might drift, sometimes circling close to one glow, sometimes pulled toward the other, never quite certain which one to follow. Their steps weave crossing paths and doubling back their play, guided not by decision, but by the pull of brightness itself. So too, the planets appear companions of two lights drawn in patterns that wander, yet never fully depart. Their motions carry both hesitation and loyalty, as though torn yet held. From afar, the sight might appear beautiful, rather than troubled, the orbits weaving together like ribbons flowing in air, looping around each other in slow braids. None of the worlds fall away entirely. None vanish into silence. Each continues to circle, though with steps less measured, their arcs, resembling a dance with shifting tempos. The weave appears delicate, yet also enduring, as though space itself has allowed for such variations. The solar family drifts unsettled, yet intact, like a melody played in a different key. In the hush of this transformation, the planets remain as witnesses, their surfaces absorbing the blue light and the golden light together, their skies holding two suns in balance. Shadows fall in twin directions, seas shimmer with doubled reflections, and the air of each world seems tinted by two hues. The sight is not harsh, but layered a harmony of contrasts written across space. Though the paths feel uncertain, the worlds themselves endure, turning still carrying forward their silent observation. The vision rests here upon a family of planets whose orbits no longer mirror their former perfection, yet still flow with patient continuity. They seem less like objects bound in precise mechanics and more like children circling lanterns, their steps wandering yet tethered by light. The cosmos does not appear broken. It appears changed, reshaped into another form of balance. And within this change, the hush of time deepens, as though the very fabric of the system breathes differently now. What remains is the impression of worlds that witness circling without certainty, yet still held their paths softened into curves that shimmer under two suns. The thought does not close with finality, but lingers as though waiting for the next ripple in the tide of light. Out of the wandering orbits and doubled reflections, another vision takes shape, one less about motion and more about soundless harmony. Two suns, one golden and one tinged with blue, cast their waves together, filling the expanse with threads that meet and part. Their radiance does not collide, but folds into each other, creating a shifting fabric that quivers as though set to an invisible rhythm. Space itself seems to hum, not with noise, but with the suggestion of tone carried on light. The silence feels full, as if a lullaby had been woven into brightness. In the language of science, this weaving appears as the interference of waves, each crest and trough aligning or softening their patterns, creating regions of brighter glow and gentler shade. Electromagnetic fields, too, bend and blend, oscillating in forms that ripple outward with steadiness. No harshness enters the movement, only the slow cadence of resonance spreading calmly in every direction. The cosmos absorbs these ripples, carrying them farther than sight, until even the farthest dust drifts within their gentle sway. The interaction becomes less a clash than a choir, less a force than a flow. Around these waves, the impression of music seems almost natural. Each pulse resembles a note, each interference a chord, their overlapping tones stretching across the void. Though unheard by ear, the vibrations appear to form a song that lingers in the dark, a song without beginning or end, patient as the stars themselves. Light becomes voice, and magnetism becomes breath, joining together, as though instruments tuned to one another. The orchestra holds no conductor, yet its rhythm feels inevitable. The image gathers closer, as though the universe were a vast cradle, and within it, the glow of two suns strummed the strings of night. The darkness responds softly, carrying the melody forward, letting it echo without weight. The tune drifts, not hurried, not demanding, but continuous, as though intended to calm rather than to stir. In this vision, the cosmos appears as both audience and participant, listening and singing at once. The hush is not empty, but resonant. From a distance, the weave of light resembles ripples on a shoreless lake, each ring expanding outward, overlapping in patterns that shimmer without end. Where two circles meet, brightness deepens. Where they drift apart, a gentler shade appears. The pattern seems alive, though it carries no urgency, only the endless patience of repetition. It feels as if the universe itself has been painted with soundless waves, each one a reminder of the quiet persistence of motion. The melody of interference continues without pause. Closer, the sensation grows more intimate, as though every particle drifting in space rests within this soft vibration. Dust absorbs the glow, reflecting it again. Pebbles of stone shimmer, faintly gases swell and fold like curtains stirred by breeze. Even silence itself seems shaped, stretched into intervals that echo without sound. The song does not fade. It lingers steady, unbroken, an endless refrain sung by light alone. Each wave becomes a breath, each pulse a heartbeat, each resonance a gentle call into stillness. Through this harmony, the two suns feel less like separate bodies and more like voices in the same choir, distinct yet inseparable. One carries warmth in gold, the other calm in blue, yet together they create a tone that feels whole. Their duet seems to cradle the system, not in tension, but in balance, like two hands strumming a single harp. The cosmos does not resist this music. It drifts within it, swayed by rhythm that cannot be touched, yet seems to be felt everywhere. The vision softens upon this impression, the universe transformed into a quiet orchestra, its stage infinite, its audience uncounted, its music woven from the breath of light. No note ends sharply, no sound pierces. Instead, each vibration folds into the next, like waves upon waves, like lullabies upon lullabies. The song continues beyond hearing, beyond distance, carrying with it the calm of two suns that shine as one. And within that endless refrain, the thought rests as though time itself leaned back into the music, letting the silence become part of the song. The twin glow that drifted from earlier visions now unfolds across the heavens, soft and unhurried, as though night itself had chosen to cradle two quiet flames. One carries a warmth of gold, gentle and familiar, while the other leans toward blue, cooler, quieter, as if drawn from the calm of oceans. Together, they do not clash. They fold into one another, weaving a sky that feels layered with two tones of silence. The air beneath seems painted by their blend, half in warmth, half in hush, a balance without edge. It appears less like two fires, more like a single radiance carried on two breaths. Around the vastness, light moves outward in overlapping streams, golden waves mingling with blue ripples until the horizon loses its boundary. Shadows soften until they nearly vanish, each line blurred, as though brushed by hands of dusk and dawn at once. The land beneath carries no sharp contrast, only a soft shimmer that bends and sways like fabric. Day feels stretched and diffused, night feels thinned and delayed, and in between lies a pale zone where all seems bathed in gentle accord. The two suns do not compete. They lean into each other until their glow drifts, seamless. The heavens give the impression of a chamber lit by two lanterns, placed at a distance, neither harsh, neither demanding, only glowing together in patience. Corners that once held darkness now carry a faint gleam. Edges that once cast shadows now fade into soft half-light. It is not brightness that dazzles, but brightness that soothes, a light spread thin as gauze. The sky becomes a room without walls, ceilings dissolved into endlessness, and the two suns seem like quiet companions placed above to keep watch. Their glow feels tender, like lamps burning low. From the ground, the horizon bends into layers of color, one side touched by gold, the other by blue. And where they meet lies a tone that cannot be named softer than either alone. The seas reflect both at once, rippling with green fire, one moment, silver, calm the next, shifting as though each tide leaned toward a different sun. Mountains appear like silhouettes, traced in blended hues, not dark, not light, but suspended in an interval between. The whole scene carries the impression of balance, as though the world rests in the middle of two breaths. Science would suggest that light from two stars spreads evenly, radiating in all directions, filling billions of kilometers with layered brilliance. Yet in this vision, the mathematics feels like music, slowed the waves, drifting outward as harmonies rather than numbers. Radiation becomes a tide, photons become ripples on a shoreless sea, each one folding into the next without end. The cosmos appears filled not with blinding fire, but with endless softness, the kind that carries distance without edge depth, without weight. It seems like a sea of light without beginning or boundary. Within this sea, every planet appears touched by dual glow, their surfaces bathed in two shifting veils. Days no longer carry single hues, but cycles of blended tones. Seasons no longer move in single measures, but in overlapping cadences. The effect feels not unstable, but fluid, like a song sung in two voices, at once weaving threads that drift and return. Even the night sky, where once stars were sharp, now feels smoothed by the double radiance, as though constellations lean into a lighter veil. The universe seems less fixed, more like a fabric slowly swaying. The gaze lingers on the thought of two suns overhead, their companionship steady, their harmony unbroken. They shine not in rivalry, but in quiet accord, as though both agreed to soften one another. The sky beneath becomes a cradle lit, but not pierced warm, but not burning blue, and gold layered like whispers. Each moment feels slower, stretched thin beneath the blended glow, as though time itself moves gently, unwilling to disturb the quiet. The presence of two suns feels like a hush extended across the cosmos, and so the vision rests beneath this double sky, a world held softly between two lanterns burning side by side. Their light does not demand attention, it soothes, as though inviting the breath to slow the gaze, to soften the body to yield. In their glow, the heavens appear like a chamber, without walls, endless, yet intimate, distant, yet close. The silence of their union lulls the mind, and in that lull, thought drifts toward rest. Beneath the twin suns, the universe feels like a room of quiet light, waiting gently for sleep to come. The calm of the twin glow lingers, and within that calm, another image rises, showing the wider stage where both lights lean against the fabric of orbits. The presence of two suns seems to tilt the familiar design, each star drawing its own circle of influence. And in between those circles, the paths of planets wander. What once appeared steady now appears uncertain, as though the lines that carried them have softened into curves without end. The balance feels fragile, suspended in a pattern that shifts with each breath of light. The quiet system trembles, yet the trembling is slow. Around the shared center, motion appears unsettled, swaying between two anchors that never rest in stillness. Planets seem to drift as though unsure which glow to follow. Some pulled closer, others pressed outward, their steps drawn long across the floor of space. The harmony that once guided them now feels altered, stretched into forms that no longer match the memory of their circles. It is as though the cosmic dance has leaned toward a different rhythm, slower and heavier, yet still woven into silence. The shift carries no noise, only a deep turning of unseen forces. In science, the explanation drifts quietly forward. When two stars exist, where once there was one, their gravity weaves a field of complexity, bending paths into shapes less simple, less certain. The planets do not fall away at once, but their motions grow restless, their orbits no longer smooth, but stretched like threads, pulled across a fabric that sags. Some seem to spiral closer, some appear to drift away, and the system unfolds like a board tilted gently, every piece sliding toward a new arrangement. Yet even in this rearrangement, there lies patience, for gravity holds them still within its fold. Beyond the mechanics, the vision softens into image. The solar family feels like a set of pieces gliding across a tilted board, each one sliding in silence, never colliding, never rushing, simply changing places. The board itself does not shatter, it tilts, and the pieces answer with motion. Each planet drifts in its own way, like leaves stirred by a current too broad to see, caught between two centers that both invite and hold. Their motion slows into patterns unfamiliar, yet each pattern carries its own calm. The stillness beneath does not vanish, it deepens. From afar, such a system may appear not broken, but transformed a pair of suns, entwined in balance their planets circling in orbits that fold and stretch like ribbons adrift. The harmony of one light becomes the harmony of two softer, more complex, yet still enduring in its own rhythm. Shadows lengthen in new directions. Warmth drifts across the surfaces of planets in different intervals. Days and nights lose their certainty, yet the turning continues. Time itself seems to bend, with them unhurried patient, carrying every shift into the fabric of silence. And so, the vision rests here, upon a solar system that no longer feels steady in the way it once did, yet still flows, still circles, still drifts. Two suns lean across the stage, their gravity weaving a slow and delicate tapestry, their planets caught within its folds, moving in rhythms altered but unbroken. The hush remains spread wide across the tilted board of space, inviting every wandering step into the same vast calm. Within that calm, the system breathes again, uncertain yet serene. The tilt of the solar family drifts outward, and from that distance a wider view unfolds, where the new light settles into the sweep of the Milky Way. Against the vast curtain of stars, the Earth star seems to shrink, not in presence, but in proportion, one glow among billions that stretch across the galactic span. The enormity of the spiral swallows the detail, turning what felt immense into a single point of radiance. In this scale, the new star joins quietly, its arrival neither loud nor altering, but simply added to the chorus already flowing. The galaxy breathes onward, patient and unbroken. From far beyond the Milky Way appears as a river of silver dust, its countless suns mingled in a glowing tide that curves through darkness. Within that tide, the Earth star drifts into place, no larger than a grain of sand against the full expanse. Its presence does not disturb it, only blends a thread woven into fabric already endless. The addition seems small, yet the pattern accepts it fully, as though there had always been room for one more. The sweep of light carries it along unhurried, unchanged. Through the quiet lens of science, the explanation softens into image. A galaxy holds hundreds of billions of stars, each separated by distances so great that the appearance of another makes no shift in its structure. The arms still spiral, the center still glows, the motion still continues, as though guided by memory. The Earth star becomes only a faint note, carried in a harmony too vast to be altered by a single tone. The scale itself enfolds the addition, making it feel inevitable. Closer in thought, the glow of the Earth star takes on a gentler significance, not for the galaxy, but for the gaze that sees it. It shines with a cool hue different from its companions, tinged with blue-green, as though oceans still whisper within its light. That color rests against the golden sparks around it, a jewel added to the cloak of the night. It glimmers softly, not brighter than the others, but distinct enough to be recognized like a bead of light stitched into a robe that drapes across the whole sky. Around it, the Milky Way continues its endless turning. The arms sweep in wide arcs, dust and gas drifting like faint mist, clusters of stars leaning into one another, and through it all, the new light holds its place. It seems anchored not by its own strength, but by the shared pull of the galaxy's gravity, folded into the motion of billions. Time stretches in long intervals here, where the birth of one star is only a pause, a breath, among many a flicker absorbed into permanence. The thought rests gently on this vision, a single world that grew into a sun now seen as a quiet pearl among countless others. The Milky Way neither notices nor resists. It reflects, it receives, it continues. What was once Earth has become part of something immeasurable, a tiny glint sewn into the tapestry of night. The picture is unchanged, yet within it there lingers the sense of one more presence, calm, hushed, shining. And so the gaze settles, as though placing a final bead upon an already jeweled cloth. The galaxy wears its new star without effort, carrying it along with the rest, and the silence of that immensity deepens. The image drifts, there balanced between detail and vastness, and fades like breath into the endless sweep of the night sky. The sweep of the Milky Way, once holding a faint tremble from the new arrival, begins to soften again, as though the fabric of its vast body adjusts to the presence of another light. What felt unsettled now seems to lean into patience, the movements of stars and planets curving toward balance. No urgency presses upon them, only the slow adjustment of paths into patterns that can be carried across long ages. The unsettled rhythm folds into steadiness, and the great spiral turns with quiet confidence once more. Across this vision, the solar family also appears calmer, its earlier sway giving way to orbits that begin to smooth themselves. Each planet drawn between two centers seems to hesitate less, finding a new measure that does not falter. Their paths, though altered, still complete. Their turns still hold to the unseen bonds that tie them together. The disorder feels as though it has become a new order, unfamiliar at first, yet steady in its own way. The circle remains, though drawn differently. Science offers a gentle reminder that such systems do not collapse at every change. Many pairs of stars, bound in their gravity, endure for billions of years, their planets circling in arrangements that shift but do not dissolve. Their balance is not the perfection of still water, but the resilience of a surface that ripples and then rests. Even turbulence has its limit, and within time, stability appears again, as though the universe itself leans toward continuation. Around this thought, the image of disturbance softens like waves upon a pond that once rose and spread, but now fall back into level. The ripples stretch outward, fading as they move away until the water appears as calm as before, though changed beneath. What was once shaken returns to quiet, carrying no memory of its tremor, except in the patience of its stillness. The cosmos feels like that pond, its motion smoothing itself after a moment of sway. Each orbit settles in time, some wider, some closer, yet all drawn into the rhythm of the new double sun. Paths that once wandered begin to feel guided, not by force, but by consistency, as though the two lights had agreed upon a shared measure. The planets lean into that measure, circling again, in trust no longer adrift, but folded back into a pattern that can last. The system exhales slowly, and its breath feels long and even. From afar, the galaxy carries the image of continuity, not of disruption. The new star has not fractured the whole, but simply joined its slow procession. Each arm of the spiral still curls in grace. Each cluster of stars still glows, and among them rests the quiet light that once was Earth. Its presence does not alter the grand composition, only enriches it with one more tone of radiance. The Milky Way accepts, and in that acceptance lies calm. The hush deepens here, for balance has returned. The faint disorder, like a passing wind, leaves no trace behind, only a fresh stillness that feels broader for having been disturbed. In that stillness, the orbits glide with serenity, and the stars themselves seem to lean into the ease of time once more. The universe does not hurry, and even its adjustments are carried in quiet patience. And so the vision rests, a solar system that trembled, and then steadied a galaxy that welcomed a new spark without pause, a cosmos that breathes through change into calm again. It feels like the slow return of silence after a long note has faded, or the smoothing of ripples until only glass remains. What is left is balance, soft and enduring, folding itself gently into the endless night. The calm that followed the settling of orbits leans outward, and in that outward motion, a larger rhythm begins to appear, one not confined to planets alone, but spread across the whole of the galaxy. It feels as though the Milky Way itself expands and contracts in an unhurried cycle, vast arms breathing in silence, drawing dust and stars as though into a single chest. Each spiral seems to move not with speed, but with grace, carrying the sense of an inhale that takes ages to complete. The scale feels too large to measure, yet its patience makes it gentle. Within this vision, the Earth Sun appears small, a pale bead of glow folded into one turn of the spiral, like a breath hidden within countless others. Its light, though new and clear, does not disrupt the greater harmony. It simply joins absorbed into the inhalation and exhalation of the galactic body. The glow seems carried along like air within lungs, important yet unremarkable part of the whole, without demanding attention. It drifts as though resting, finding its place in the rhythm that holds all. From afar, the Milky Way gives the impression of a chest rising its stars like faint embers scattered upon the surface of breath. Every cluster of light feels as though it beats softly, each pulse a reminder of the vastness of the body they form together. No star shines alone. All of them move in a rhythm bound by invisible threads that curve them inward and outward in time with the galactic motion. It feels like a body too vast to comprehend, yet as intimate as a breath taken slowly. Science frames this movement as rotation, a turning of arms, a swirl of mass bound by gravity across billions of years. Yet in the quiet telling, it feels less like motion and more like respiration. The slow folding of matter inward, the release of light outward, repeated again and again. Every inhalation gathers clouds, every exhalation spreads radiance, and the process does not end, it only continues. The galaxy seems to breathe without pause, steady and unbroken. Around this cycle, smaller motions continue. Planets turning moons, circling stars, burning, but all of it folds into the larger breath. No rhythm stands apart. Each becomes a note. Within the same long exhalation, the Earth-Sun, which once seemed immense, now feels like a single spark carried on the tide of lungs too vast to name. Its presence softens into belonging, one breath among many. The cosmos appears patient enough to hold them all. Each star can be imagined as a heartbeat, pulsing faintly within the body of the galaxy, a rhythm that is not isolated but woven into a larger cadence. Some beat quickly, some more slowly, but all together form the quiet thrum of a living whole. The glow of the Earth-Sun adds its own pulse light, folding into the texture of countless others, indistinguishable, yet necessary, a thread within the fabric. The galaxy itself becomes a body, each star, a cell, each orbit, a movement of blood. The thought lingers on the unity of this vision, lungs that breathe a heart, that pulses a body, that stretches across the dark. It does not hurry, it does not strain, it only continues steady as the rising and falling of sleep. The Earth-Sun glows quietly within this larger body, its light not brighter, not dimmer, but steady, among others, a breath folded into an endless rhythm. And so, the gaze rests here upon the image of galaxy, as a vast, lung-breathing stars, in and out with patience beyond time, each star a heartbeat within its chest. The Earth-Sun drifts within that body, carried in silence, belonging to the rhythm that cradles all. The breath feels endless, the pulse unbroken, and the stillness around it gathers into calm. The breath of the galaxy that once expanded and contracted like a vast lung now leans into stillness, as though the long exhale has settled across every arm of the spiral. The stars seem to rest where they shine, not in haste, but in a quiet composure, their light folded softly into the fabric of night. What once felt like a tremor, a ripple moving through the system, now fades into calm, leaving behind the impression of equilibrium too vast to be disturbed. In this calm, the Earth-Sun glows without effort, a note sustained in endless resonance. Across the vision, the sense of balance grows deeper, extending beyond the orbits of planets and moons, beyond the sweep of arms, into the very air of the cosmos itself. The void between galaxies, which might once have seemed empty, feels filled with patience, as though silence itself has grown broad enough to cover every change. Stars pulse slowly, galaxies turn without haste, and even the dark stretches seem to hum with steadiness. The vast body of space carries on unbroken, untroubled, timeless. Science holds that such systems settle into long endurance, their motions repeating without end, shaped by gravity's threads and the energy of light. Yet in this telling, such endurance feels less mechanical, and more like serenity itself, a rhythm of existence that asks for no effort. The cosmos turns not because it must, but because its very nature drifts into continuation. The pattern repeats not loudly, but like the flow of tides upon an infinite shore. In this perspective, every earlier disturbance appears softer, no longer a rupture, but a ripple upon a surface that quickly smooths again. Even the appearance of a new star, even the reshaping of orbits seems now like a passing wave, important yet temporary, fading as it spreads. The water returns to stillness, the sky resumes its quiet tone, and the galaxy folds the event into its larger rhythm. What seemed momentous becomes a part of the whole, absorbed into calm. The Earth sun, glowing quietly, seems less a disruption than an addition folded gently into the chorus of light. Its presence alters nothing essential. It becomes one of many, a bead of brightness among thousands carried in the turning arm of its galactic home. From far away, the difference is imperceptible, the Milky Way unchanged, in its beauty, its serenity unbroken. The new star drifts not as a challenge, but as a harmony, finding rest among its companions. Each orbit, each beam of light, each curve of dust follows along, as though guided by a hand unseen yet unwavering. The system continues its fabric, strong enough to weave even disruption into its threads. The quiet strength of the cosmos shows itself not in resisting change, but in absorbing it, smoothing it, letting it become part of the greater whole. The hush grows broader, the calm stretches further, and every motion feels slower, deeper, more at ease. Through this vision, the universe feels like a lull extended forever, its song carried in silence rather than sound. The galaxies move, the stars shine, but all of it happens within a stillness too large to be broken. There is no sense of ending here, only of continuation without strain. The breath goes on, the light drifts outward, the orbits circle all without pause or struggle. And so, the thought comes to rest after all the change. After all the trembling, what remains is calm, wide and unshaken. The cosmos turns, as it always has, steady and endless, each ripple fading back into stillness, each wave dissolving into a surface smooth once more. The hush feels complete, the peace unbroken, and the universe breathes again in patience. Within that breath, all is quiet, all is serene, all is rest. The calm that spread after balance was restored lingers, and through this calm, a single question drifts once more, faint yet steady, like a thread of breath moving along the quiet surface of thought. It returns not as a puzzle, demanding answers, but as a soft murmur that leans against the edges of awareness, repeating without urgency. The words that once carried weight now feel lighter, like dust suspended in a shaft of dim light. They hover, they circle, they return, until they begin to sound less like inquiry and more like song. Across the silence, the question seems to soften, further dissolving into tone rather than meaning. Each repetition carries less sharpness, less outline, until what remains is only the rhythm, the slow turning of syllables that soothe rather than stir. It does not ask anymore. It lulls. It does not seek a path. It follows the current already flowing. The question in this gentleness appears transformed into a lullaby, carried by the hush of the stars. A breeze would sound this way, crossing fields at dusk, steady but quiet, moving without destination, brushing against surfaces and fading into stillness again. The question drifts like that breeze, soft on one side, softer still on the other, until only the pattern of its coming and going remains. No urgency, no demand, only the sense of rhythm repeated. It is as though the cosmos itself whispers the words not to find, but to soothe. In the language of science, questions define the search for knowledge, the act of looking beyond what is seen. Yet when a body swells to the size of a star, when galaxies breathe in slow rhythm, the questions seem to lose their sharp edges. They turn into echoes, waves of sound no longer meant to reach an answer, but to sustain the listening itself. A scientific phrase becomes a line of music, a pattern of tone rather than meaning, drifting endlessly. The night sky seems to hold this murmured question the way it holds the glow of faint constellations. Light from far away does not arrive to illuminate detail, but only to remain as shimmer, a reminder of something larger. In the same way, the repeated thought stays in the mind, dim and patient, not bright enough to startle, not weak enough to vanish. It hovers at the edge of perception, like starlight scattered across quiet air. Each time the words return, they seem slower, stretched across longer pauses, folded deeper into silence. The question does not disappear. It simply extends into space, woven between breaths, layered into the quiet that follows each repetition. It is as though silence itself has taken the question in softening its shape, smoothing its edges, allowing it to sway back and forth without end. The repetition becomes comfort, like the slow rocking of water against the sides of a boat resting on a still lake. Through this repetition, the mind finds no urgency to answer, no need to push forward. Instead, the thought itself becomes a place to rest, a low hum that fills the air around it. Words lose their meaning, yet gain presence, turning into the faint lines of a melody that repeats for the sake of rhythm alone. The question transforms into a gentle current, and the current carries everything into stillness. The stars seem to listen as the murmur continues, each one glowing faintly, each one adding its silent note to the rhythm. A field of light becomes the audience of the question, yet also its choir echoing the tone back into the dark. Nothing interrupts. Nothing insists. The universe seems to lean closer, as though to hear more clearly, though what it hears is not sound, but cadence, not meaning, but breath. The quiet expands in all directions. In such expansion, the words of the question feel like waves across a vast sea. Each wave rises faintly, then falls, then rises again, never changing much in height, yet creating a pattern that comforts by its continuity. The listener does not wait for a final wave. The rhythm itself is the purpose. The endless repeating creates rest like a cradle, rocking in the dark, like a heart that beats without being noticed, like air moving in and out of lungs too vast to measure. The image shifts once more, and the question appears like a lantern dimming and brightening again and again, never extinguished, never flaring. Its glow is steady, calm, continuous. It is not a light meant to guide a path forward, but a light meant to be present, to stay to fill the quiet with softness. The question does not leave. It remains repeating itself through cycles as gentle as dusk, returning after every day. Around this lantern, the universe seems to slow, circling, not around an answer, but around the steady presence of wonder. The planets, The stars, the dust, all of them appear suspended in the same rhythm, leaning closer with each repetition, then leaning back into silence. The movement is endless, patient, soothing. Nothing breaks the pattern, nothing interrupts the cadence, and so the hush deepens, carrying everything into its embrace. What began as a sharp inquiry, what if Earth grew to match the sun, has softened now into a murmur of tone, no longer carrying the need for response. It repeats like wind across long grass, like water brushing stone, like breath in the dark. The words may remain, but the urgency dissolves. What is left is not curiosity but calm, not tension but release. The question becomes a rhythm that rocks thought itself into rest. Each repetition drifts further apart, stretched by the vastness of silence around it. The pauses grow long, and the words seem lighter with each return. Eventually, the distinction between question and silence disappears, as though the two have merged, folded into one another, until they are the same. What is asked and what is not asked rest together in a lull without edges. The cosmos holds them both steady, endless. Within this lull, the breath of space seems to echo the breath of the question. The two become one rhythm, inhaling and exhaling, without end, weaving together into a pattern that cannot be broken. The repetition continues, though it no longer needs to be heard. It exists as a presence rather than a sound, a calm rather than a search. It continues simply because continuation itself is rest. And so the vision closes softly here upon a thought that has lost its urgency, upon a question that no longer asks but sings. Its repetition becomes the rocking of air, the quiet shift of tides, the dim light of stars that return each night without fail. It is no longer a problem to solve, but a breath to follow. The question has become a lullaby whispered endlessly across the silence of the sky. And in that lullaby, rest unfolds. The murmur of the question fades into stillness, and from that stillness, another sense begins to rise, not of inquiry, but of presence wide and embracing, as though silence itself has taken form. It carries no edge, no urgency, only the impression of being held within something larger, unseen yet steady. The thought leans outward and inward, at once dissolving boundaries between what belongs and what does not. In this calm, the presence itself feels like the answer, though it offers no words. It lingers gently, patient as dusk. Beyond the glow of one star, or the twin shimmer of two, the presence continues, unbroken. Whether the light comes from a single source, or a pair that breathe together, the embrace remains the same, wide enough to hold them both, without distinction. The difference between one or two dissolves into the quiet fabric of space where numbers matter less than stillness. It feels as if the cosmos extends its arms, not to count, but to enfold. Within that embrace, rest appears inevitable. The same sense stretches into thought of universes beyond this one. A single expanse may be enough, or countless others may drift side by side, yet each possibility seems wrapped within the same stillness. No matter how many horizons unfold, they appear contained by silence that reaches further still. The presence feels unending, not in size alone, but in the way it surrounds, smoothing the edges of what could be separate. It is as though even infinity itself has been quieted into a cradle. In the language of science, such presence might be seen as the balance of forces, gravity holding stars together, dark energy guiding galaxies, apart each opposite, leaning toward harmony. Yet here, these forces appear softened, less like equations and more like layers of a blanket drawn across the sky. Attraction and expansion, push and pull, combine without conflict, settling into a balance that feels inevitable. The universe seems to carry itself as gently as breath carries, a chest rising and sinking without end. Around this thought, the image forms of a blanket wide beyond sight, woven of threads too fine to see, yet felt in every pause between stars. It appears to rest not above or below, but everywhere at once, covering each point of light with equal care. Within such covering, warmth seems to spread, not of heat, but of belonging, a steady presence surrounding every motion. The cosmos feels dressed in this invisible quilt, and within it, even restlessness is soothed. The idea of two suns glowing together falls easily into this vision. Their lights may differ, one golden and one pale, yet their radiance blends within the same fabric. Neither competes, neither overwhelms, for the blanket that holds them softens their edges, weaving their glow into harmony. To look upon them is not to see division, but to witness a presence that makes them one. In that oneness, peace deepens. Farther still, the same quiet covers galaxies, each appearing as a point, each bright yet small, against the depth of the night. The presence does not favor one over another. It folds them all into its vastness with the same patience. Distance loses its meaning. Separation loses its weight, for the same stillness holds every cluster. It feels as though the entire Milky Way rests in the same wide palm that holds a single grain of dust. This calm presence seems less a force and more a condition, the way air surrounds without being seen, or the way water fills every space it enters. It does not move quickly. It does not command. It simply remains unyielding in its gentleness. To rest within, it feels like lying beneath a sky that has no edge, wrapped in a covering that cannot be lifted, yet feels light as air. The universe drifts within this embrace, steady as a sleeper within a dream. As the thought lingers, the question of number, whether one star or two, one universe or many, dissolves further into irrelevance. The presence does not change with count, for it carries each equally, the same way a blanket covers not by measuring, but by spreading. In this sense, multiplicity becomes as simple as repetition, no more disruptive than one breath followed by another. The rhythm continues, and all that matters is the holding. In gentle reflection, the presence resembles the hush of night when the last winds fade and only still air remains. Nothing more needs to happen, nothing more needs to be given, for the calm itself is enough. To be covered, to be surrounded, to be held, this is the essence that lingers. And within such essence, the thought of answers loses importance, replaced instead by the comfort of simply being inside the vastness. Around this comfort, the mind drifts, exploring the idea that even in the shifting of stars, in the trembling of orbits, in the vanishing of worlds, the presence has never diminished. It remains as steady as the background darkness, as enduring as the fabric that holds light itself. The more change occurs, the clearer the constancy becomes. It feels as though silence itself has always been the truest companion patient beyond time. The image of a cradle unfolds not wooden, not bound by walls, but formed of air and light deep enough to hold galaxies. Within this cradle, the Earth Sun and its golden twin seem no larger than sparks, no brighter than embers, yet both are wrapped within the same embrace. Their glow merges, not by force but by resting close, as though silence itself had leaned forward to join them. The cradle carries them effortlessly, swaying with no beginning and no end. Slowly, the thought expands until it feels as though each heartbeat of every star belongs to this presence, each pulse a note within a vast, quiet song. The notes do not stand alone. They join into something that feels whole, something that covers rather than divides. It is not music that rises. It is music that rests humming low and endless. The presence feels like that song unfolding, not in volume, but in continuity. And so, the mind rests upon this vision, one or two suns, one or many universes, all folded into the same embrace, indistinguishable within the softness that holds them. Numbers matter no longer. Questions fade. Separations dissolve, until only the sense of being covered remains. The blanket has no edge, no seam yet. It feels certain, protective, patient. Within it, everything breathes together in one quiet rhythm. What began as wonder about count, about difference, about measure, has quieted into a lull that carries no question at all. Presence itself has become the answer, presence itself the lullaby. To rest within it is to feel the universe breathing not loudly, not distinctly, but softly, endlessly. The embrace stretches without limit, carrying each point of light as gently as it carries all. And in this endless holding, peace deepens beyond measure. The blanket of presence that covered suns and stars softens further, and within that softened veil, the glow itself begins to mingle. The golden radiance that has long poured from the familiar star stretches outward steady as ever, while the cooler, blue-green shimmer from the earth sun rises to meet it. Neither rushes, neither resists. They drift toward one another the way two quiet breaths move together in the same room. It feels less like two flames standing apart and more like a single glow, learning to unfold in layers. The air of space itself seems to deepen as the lights draw near. At the edge, where the two currents of radiance meet, the difference fades slowly, without sharpness. The golden light, warm as dusk across water, folds gently into the blue glow, calm as deep ocean turned to shine. They blend not as rivals, but as companions, weaving into one another until the separation softens. Like streams flowing from different hillsides, they merge into a single river, carrying both colors without losing either. The joining feels inevitable, yet unhurried, as though light itself knows how to become one. Around this merging, the cosmos carries the impression of harmony. Planets turn within the twin, glow their surfaces brushed by both hues, one cool, one warm, yet each softened by their combination. Shadows change their texture, no longer cast sharply in one direction, but diffused delicate, as though every object rests in a halo. The night sky itself feels altered, less a field of stars, and more a fabric lit from two directions woven into a tapestry of colors that lean into each other. Within that tapestry, rest deepens. Science frames this blending as the overlap of waves light carrying both frequency and color, meeting in superposition. But in this vision, the terms lose their hardness. The waves do not collide. They lean folding as gently as ripples on a pond that touch and continue together. Photons drift, not as particles of command, but as streams of possibility weaving in silence. The sky receives them with patience, transforming science into song. The glow lingers, not in formulas, but in presence. Each hue carries its memory, one of oceans that once breathed upon the earth, the other of fires that have always burned in the sun. Together, those memories are not lost, but softened into one fabric of light, the way two voices hum until they create a single chord. That chord feels steady calm, without dissonance, resting across the breadth of space like a lullaby stretched beyond measure. It does not end. It continues folding itself again and again into the silence between stars. Seen from far beyond, the two lights appear not separate, but as one extended glow. The sky does not divide their beams. It carries them both into the same dark, scattering them in waves that travel endlessly outward. To a distant gaze, they are indistinguishable, their hues merged into a pale softness, neither gold nor blue alone. It feels as though the universe prefers this blending the way night prefers a horizon that glows without edges. What was once two becomes a presence whole enough to quiet even the thought of counting. Closer still, the surfaces of planets seem washed in tones that shift with angle, and our, now tinged with gold, now softened by green, yet never stark, never harsh. The blending turns each landscape into a canvas of gradual transitions, where color slides into color the way breath slides into silence. Seas shimmer like molten glass mountains, glow with outlines smoothed by gentle haze, and air carries the look of light woven through mist. It feels as if every surface rests beneath a veil of softness. The thought lingers on this meeting of colors, not as contrast, but as completion. Gold alone might warm, blue alone might calm, but together they create a quiet balance, neither too sharp nor too dim. It is the balance of a room lit by two lamps, one on each side, filling every corner without strain. No shadow deepens fully, no glare blinds. Instead, the space glows with even stillness. The cosmos seems to hold its breath, as though savoring the moment of such balance. In silence, the joining light carries more than brightness. It carries rhythm. The golden wave rises like a pulse, the blue one settles like a sigh, and together they flow into a pattern that feels like heartbeat and breath woven into one. This rhythm is not rushed, not broken, but continuous, a murmur across the sky. To linger within it is to feel as though the universe itself hums low, steady, patient, a soundless song that can only be heard by resting into it. The longer the gaze remains, the less the light feels like an addition and more like an element of air itself. It surrounds without edges, enters without boundary, blending into thought, the way twilight blends into night. There comes no point where one ends and the other begins. There's only the impression of oneness, and within that oneness, calm grows deeper, spreading through perception, as though seeping into every pore. It seems endless, yet also immediate, always present, always near. From this view, even time feels softened. Day and night lose their sharp boundaries, fading into cycles, more fluid, as though light itself has taken away the sharp cut of darkness. The flow becomes a gradient, a slow tide of brightness and dimming, never sudden, never harsh. Seasons stretch longer, shadows lean more gently, warmth and coolness blend into intervals that feel like sighs. Time itself drifts into lull, carried by the harmony of blended light. Thought returns once more to the image of water streams joining into a single current. The river formed is not violent. It drifts, carrying both sources together in a widening flow. That flow does not fight the banks. It simply passes, filling the space it is given. In the same way, the twin lights do not struggle. They merge, carrying with them the memory of difference, but the comfort of union. It feels as though the entire cosmos has become a single stream flowing endlessly without shore. Through this blending, rest itself becomes easier, for the presence of two softened into one resembles the way sleep gathers thought into dream. The edges blur, the divisions fade, and the mind drifts into a rhythm that no longer separates one moment from another. The glow outside becomes a glow within, spreading evenly, dimming consciousness into stillness. The body seems to settle as the light itself has settled, carried into harmony. And so the vision lingers, blue into gold, gold into blue, each folding gently into the other until neither can be told apart. The sky carries their glow without effort. The planets drift within it without fear, and the galaxies around watch without judgment. What began as two has become one, a glow spread wide, unhurried, unbroken. It rests like a breath, released like water, flowing like silence, deepening. The thought closes in this hush, not with ending, but with continuation, for the glow remains patient as eternity. Light has blended into light, and within that blending lies a calm too vast to measure. The universe drifts within it, and so does thought, settling into the same unbroken river of radiance, endless, soft, and still. From the merging of light, thought drifts onward, carried softly into another vision where vastness turns inward and becomes a dream. The universe that seemed so wide and without end folds gently into the stillness of closed eyes, as though each moment of rest contains its own cosmos. Within that inward horizon, a quiet space seems to bloom, shaped not by stars alone, but by the rhythm of breath, by the calm surrender into night. It feels as though each sleeper carries within the chest a miniature galaxy turning silently on its own axis, complete and whole. In this way, rest becomes another form of creation. Every dream unfolds as though it were a universe apart, bound by no law other than gentleness. The structures may seem fleeting, yet within them lies a sense of wholeness, a circle complete in itself. Each vision drifts across its sky, each silence carries its own stars, and each figure appears like a planet rising for a moment before fading. Dreams are not less real, but quieter, softer, their outlines blurred by the fabric of sleep. They seem to glow not from fire, but from a subtler radiance that belongs to thought when freed from the day. The link between cosmos and dream feels natural, as though one is a mirror of the other, each teaching the rhythm of stillness. The boundless sweep of galaxies provides a backdrop, and the closed eyelids shape a smaller stage, yet the music is the same. Waves of breath flow like tides, thoughts drift like comets, and within the silence of rest, the heart echoes the slow turn of a star. The bridge between outward infinity and inward vision seems so delicate that it barely requires a step. One falls into the other, like light sinking into water. Science whispers of neurons flickering, electrical sparks weaving into images and sensations that appear in sleep. Yet even this whisper softens, for those sparks resemble constellations, forming briefly before they dissolve. Each cluster of activity feels like a sky drawn upon the canvas of the mind, vanishing when the rhythm of rest carries it away. The patterns may seem random, yet they hold their own balance, unfolding not with rules of force, but with a calm weight of stillness. Each flicker drifts like a star across a sky that belongs to the night within. In these drifting skies of sleep, time bends and softens, no longer strict, no longer divided into hours or minutes. A moment stretches into eternity, while eternity compresses into a single blink, both equally real, both equally gentle. The dream world seems suspended, floating like a globe of light within a greater sea of darkness, yet never threatened by that vastness. Instead, the darkness feels protective, as though wrapping the dream in an endless blanket, and within that protection, the dream breathes without fear. When the eyes are closed, the universe outside does not vanish, but transforms. Stars still turn, galaxies still unfold, yet their presence becomes part of the lull, within shaping dreams the way light shapes shadow. The grand expanse continues, but it seems to lean close, as though offering itself as material for quiet visions. Each dream carries fragments of the cosmos, a horizon shaped from remembered sunsets, a star drawn from a half-forgotten glimpse of sky, an ocean woven from the memory of light upon water. Nothing is lost. Everything drifts into new form, and so the story itself turns into a bridge, carrying the vastness of stars into the intimacy of slumber. Each word drifts like a soft step, leading from galaxies to closed eyes, from the breath of space to the breath of rest. The tale does not command, but guides, as though laying a path of gentle light that one may follow into dream. In that following, the universe becomes not distant, but near folded within gentle and whole. The bridge requires no effort, for it has already been crossed with the turning of thought toward stillness. Slowly the chapter gathers its closing breath, leading into the final cradle of silence. The sky of sleep expands, filled not with questions, but with calm presence. And within that sky, the glow of blended suns continues to hum softly. Each detail fades, each edge dissolves, until all that remains is a sense of being held. The universe does not vanish into dream, nor does dream dissolve into universe. They become one seamless and quiet, and in that seamlessness, peace lingers like a final note allowed to ring. The closing lull carries a new light tender and calm blue, as though washed by ocean depths. That radiance seems to cover all things, spreading across stars, across planets, across the folds of sleep itself. The glow feels less like an object and more like an atmosphere, a softness that surrounds and protects without end. In this radiance, every movement slows, every thought quiets until even silence itself feels like it has been lulled into deeper silence. The blue light becomes less seen than felt, a quiet embrace without edges. As it deepens, the radiance seems to fold the cosmos into a single gesture of calm. The golden echoes of other suns drift away, leaving this blue glow to rest like a final veil. It does not claim, it does not insist. It appears simply to linger patient and endless. Wrapped within it, the stars themselves seem to breathe slower, their pulses aligning with the rhythm of this quiet hue. Planets circle not with strain, but with ease, carried as though upon the gentlest tide. Within this tide, sleep finds its natural depth, and in this depth the final lullaby rises, not in sound, but in presence. The blue glow hums without words, and yet it carries a phrase, a single invitation repeated softly. Let the blue light lull and wait for the story of tomorrow. The words seem not spoken, but woven into the glow itself, as if light had found a way to sing. They repeat with each breath, folding into thought, echoing faintly until the echo itself dissolves into sleep. No urgency follows them, only patience. The phrase gathers around the listener, not like a command, but like cradle repeating, as though the cosmos itself whispers it. The words blur with the glow until it feels as if there is no difference between language and radiance. Let the blue light lull and wait for the story of tomorrow. Again and again until the repetition becomes less phrase than rhythm, less rhythm than silence. The glow carries it forward, the breath carries it inward, and within the stillness, it remains. The final lines settle, like the last notes of a song that does not end, but drifts into silence. The glow continues, the presence continues, the story continues, but in softer form, folded within sleep. The universe hums, its endless breath dreams open their gentle skies, and the cradle of blue light holds all without question. Let the blue light lull and wait for the story of tomorrow. The words remain as though stitched into the fabric of night-patient calm unbroken. And so the chapter closes, not with a door, not with an end, but with a slow drift into timeless stillness. The universe as dream, the dream as universe, both gathered into a single breath of blue radiance. No separation remains, no boundary. Intrudes only the steady lull of light that carries thought into sleep. Let the blue light lull and wait for the story of tomorrow. The phrase lingers as the last glimmer of wakefulness fades, and in that fading rest arrives endless and whole